Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hyrule Academy. This is your Zelda lore and theory podcast. Happens every single month here on the Zeldathon Twitch channel. I hope you're all doing well today. I'm doing pretty fantastic, if I do say so myself. I've been enjoying some crossword puzzles just before today's show. Did you all know that a web exchange is IMs and not IRC or DNS or any other thing that would be better? Well, I do as of now. The first song of the night you heard was Zelda's Lullaby by Epic and Thick, who had a nice acoustic guitar cover of Zelda's Lullaby. It's actually a really old cover. Been in my folder for darn near a century, it feels like. A generation, perhaps. But I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all welcome and having a good evening. I hope you're welcome, because you are. Today on the show, we're going to be discussing the Sheikah, which is a race of humans who basically are the guardians of Hylia, the goddess, and subsequently, and relatedly, the royal family that follows her. I know Skyward Sword HD came out in the past month, so we are going to have some kind of spoilers for that, and I'm about to start them right now. Turns out Hylia, the goddess, took a mortal form. You might know her as Zelda, and she subsequently basically ran a royal family for thousands and thousands of years. And the Sheikah people became basically the guardians of Hylia. It was said in the game that they are the goddess' chosen guardians. Chosen by Hylia? Chosen by who? Chosen by themselves? I don't know. We're going to discuss that today. The Sheikah people appear very similar to Hylians. You'll see them in the games. They have pointed ears. They are very human-like. Some of the only differences you usually see is they have red eyes and most typically white hair. They do live longer than Hylians, though. It's very strange. We'll see a character like Impa. Once again, I'm getting into the spoilers of Skyward Sword. Impa lives a long time herself inside the sealed temple. Becomes a very old lady. And we see Impa very old, well over 100 in Breath of the Wild. We see many Sheikah who seemingly have lived 100 plus years. They have a lot of achievements to their name, though, the Sheikah people. Most earliest in the timeline, or earliest inside the chronological order of the games, we were introduced to Impa in Ocarina of Time, where she had founded Kakariko Village. And it's said that the Sheikah people have founded Kakariko Village in multiple games, including in the latest, Breath of the Wild. It's basically a Sheikah settlement, where there's exclusively Sheikah people. It's actually also quite interesting, because Breath of the Wild is the only game where we really see a bustling Sheikah settlement at all. Most of the time, the Sheikah are few and far between. The Sheikah people also are known for their advanced technology. They are seemingly quite skilled scholars in their own right. We see all sorts of technology, especially in Breath of the Wild, like the Sheikah Slate, the Shrine of Resurrection, which keeps Link preserved and on ice for 100 years. The shrines and the towers. And did you know this? This is actually something I found out in my research for this. The Sheikah developed outerwear that keeps rain off and wards off lightning. You might have seen their little umbrella hats in the game. Apparently that's special technology that they don't like to give out. That's Sheikah exclusive. And apparently it's also powerful, technological. What? I had no idea. I did not know that. In other games, you see the Sheikah with some other interesting items, because their symbol, the Sheikah people, is an eyeball with a teardrop. And we see that symbol in other games. For example, on the Gossip Stones in Ocarina of Time, which give you hints. The Mask of Truth that you can use to talk to those Gossip Stones. The Lens of Truth, which you find in that game, that helps you find hidden and mysterious shadow objects. As well in Twilight Princess, even though there's only one or two supposed Sheikah, there is a wooden statue that has the Sheikah symbol on it. I won't spoil what that does in the game, but there's the Howling Stones have the Sheikah symbol on it, and I think it's very interesting that the Sheikah have a impact in Twilight Princess just a little bit more subtly. So today on the show, we're going to be talking about the Sheikah people and a little bit about what we've already introduced, and hopefully we're going to form some of our own theories. So everybody at home, you are tuning in live right now, I hope, and you have the Twitch chat open. We will be keeping an eye on the Twitch chat this entire time as we ask you questions and for your opinions that we will share later on in the show. And when I say we, I of course mean that there's going to be a guest this week. Coming up right after the break, we're going to be talking to Ganon11, who is joining us, a fellow Zeldathon team member and a esteemed Zelda remake anti-fan. I'm not gonna. I'll let him explain that himself when we come back from the break. But in the break, I'd like you at home to chat about the following questions. How did the Sheikah become the chosen guardians of Hylia? Who chose them? Why? Give us information. Why do they have more advanced knowledge than others? And lastly, beyond biological, is there a reason that the Sheikah live longer? That's all coming up during this break. Please chat in the chat room, share your opinions and thoughts. We'll be noting them down for discussion later on the show. But after this, we'll be joined by our guest, Ganon11. Enjoy the music. Welcome back, one and all, to Hyrule Academy. I hope you're all enjoying the show so far. That song you just heard was Rebecca Tripp's Temple of the Goddesses. Rebecca Tripp is a great artist on YouTube who does so many covers. She pumps out covers so often, multiple per week, and they're all really fun. And she does a lot of good stuff from games that don't get as much love. She has some great Oracle of Seasons covers in particular. But anyway, everyone, I'd like to introduce our guests for today's episode. Ganon11. Ganon11 is a fellow team member on the Zeldathon team, noted Metroid fan, and noted 11th Ganon iteration. Can you believe it? Hello, Ganon.
Unless Ganons are zero indexed, the jury's still out on that one.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to be here. I get to add one more podcast to my belt of co-hosting and guesting. I'm very excited for the opportunity.
How many are you up to now? You got like 4 or 5? What are you up to?
Only 2 or 3. I believe I've co-hosted an anime podcast, and I believe I've been interviewed for another podcast that's slipping the mind right now.
Okay, well that works out. Well, I'm very
glad.
Humble
number.
Very, very welcome to have you. Very happy to have you. And I was wondering, what's the deal with your Zelda remake brigade and remake brigade in general? I want people to hear it from you directly and not through the veil of a Twitch chat like text or anything or spoken through my mouth. Tell me what you think about remakes.
So I don't know how much we want to get into this, but my contention is that people only clamor for remakes of good games. And if a game is good, then a game is good. Like, why don't you just want to play the game as it is? Ooh. There are many reasons for that. People say, it's difficult to play. I can't have it on the latest system. I can't have it with the latest connections. And I think there are better ways to address those problems than having official HD remakes. For instance, having a fully featured virtual console where you could purchase a digital version of your favorite old good game and play it on modern systems with modern connections. It might look, exactly as it did when you were a kid when you played it, but the game is good then. It's probably good now.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I've heard you talk about remakes before in the past, but I've never, or this, I may misremember or not remember the part about specifically people want remakes of good games. When you say it like that, it does make me think about all the bad games that could do with good remakes.
Or even not necessarily bad games, but games that really have not aged well. For instance, you say I'm anti-Zelda remake, and kind of. But the one Zelda game that I would really like to see a remake for is Zelda 2. Because I think that game has some really good stuff at its core, but it really needs just like a full makeover.
I agree.
And not just visually.
I agree, and especially because there has been so much progress in the world of like 2D, action adventure games in general. I feel like that Zelda 2 is ripe for a remake, but we probably won't see that, honestly. Give
me a Zelda 2 Metroidvania, please. It'll be my favorite day.
Speaking of which, what is let's actually start with your favorite Zelda game. What is your favorite Zelda game that's out there? Do you have a favorite?
Oh gosh. My favorite is whichever one I'm playing at the current time. No, that's a cop-out answer. I will commit to an answer, and it may be generic and it may be boring, but it is the answer. I am in love with Breath of the Wild.
I feel you.
The game is fantastic. The game's music is great. I loved just sinking hours and hours into exploring every nook and cranny. It was challenging. Not many Zelda games are challenging, but Breath of the Wild was very challenging, and so I had a ton of fun playing that from beginning to end.
It's also the type of game that you can really kind of play as you want. Like, you can set your own challenges up in the game. You can choose to like do it without shields or using bombs only or stuff like that. And I find that really fun that the game is so open and free that it gives you that tools. And it's really interesting for Breath of the Wild specifically to be a favorite Zelda game, because it's mine as well. But because it's the most recent, like, some people are like, how can you know it's your favorite so quickly? It's like, because this game, it kind of met all of my expectations and more. Like, it provided me what I like in a Zelda game, which is Hyrule. And that game gave me Hyrule better than any other game has ever given to me.
It had good puzzles, and it had great characters and great storylines. There are things that I like about other Zelda games more.
Yeah.
But I think Breath of the Wild as a whole package it's an absolutely solid entry on many, many fronts, and thus, solidifies our spot as favorite.
Absolutely, because I also think there's a good distinction between favorite and best, because I think some Zelda games are better than Breath of the Wild, honestly, but Breath of the Wild is my favorite.
That's an interesting prospect. What would then be your best Zelda game?
Well, if I'm to believe my own web show, Twilight Princess or Wind Waker, I honestly would lean towards Twilight Princess. It feels like such a masterful game. I'd say the HD version specifically to help out some of those rough textures, but I know we were just talked about that. What was your first Zelda game, though? What was the first game that young Ganon played in the Zelda series?
Yes, when I was a young warthog. The first Zelda game I remember playing, and in fact the first video game I remember playing, was the original Link's Awakening. And I do mean the original for the Game Boy. No DX, no color. Color is terrifying. I like my games monochrome. Thank you very much. I sank a long time into that game, and for a while kind of put it down and didn't really think about it. But maybe when I was in my mid-20s, picked it back up and realized this is still one of the best entries in the series. I don't think it's underrated anymore, but at the time I think it was underrated, and it could have used a lot more attention. But now it's got a lot more attention, so I think it is properly rated at this time.
A properly rated game, and it's a good one. It was my first game as well, my first Zelda game. Man, we do have the first and favorite are exactly the same. I did not know that.
Similarities are coming out of the woodwork.
Now, getting on topic here for the Sheikah, I do have a question about your general thoughts on the Sheikah race as they've been in the Zelda series. Like, what is your take on them as a concept, as a game, a part of the games, I suppose?
Yeah, it's really interesting. You can see that, in the early games, well, first of all, Impa was in the games before the concept of Sheikah was in the games. I believe the concept of Sheikah was introduced in Ocarina of Time and applied to Impa, and so you can kind of like backport it to Impas in previous games released in our chronology, later in the game's chronology. I think they're fascinating. I especially like their embodiment in Breath of the Wild, where they really get some fleshing out, and they just become this really interesting sort of secluded society. Apart from that, in their appearance in all the other games is very, very mysterious. It's interesting to me that like Zelda chooses to pass herself off as a Sheikah in Ocarina of Time, and Sheikah are the guardians of the royal family and the princess.
Yeah, it's like why would you pass yourself off as a Goron or something, Zelda?
Right,
I don't know.
Right. Pass yourself off as someone that's not explicitly against Ganon. I don't know how she remains uncaught for so long, but what can you do?
I really enjoy, by the way, that you brought up Impa being, present very early, because she was the fourth character in the original Zelda game. She was only really present in the manual of Zelda 1. But the fact that the four named characters in Zelda 1 are Link, Zelda, Ganon, and Impa. And I always feel bad for Impa that she sometimes gets sidelined a little bit when she is like literally like the fourth character of the Zelda series. And I think she appears the most other than Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf.
Oh gosh, we need to count, but I would believe you. Without doing the math, I would still believe that statement.
I think Tingle is also up there at this point, but I think Impa still has her beat. Him. Got all mixed up.
This Tingle beat.
All right, I have a special question for you. I'm going to test your knowledge.
Oh.
Other than Impa, name some Sheikah people.
So I kind of cheated by looking up some names.
Okay.
We've got some of the main characters from Breath of the Wild, Pura, and Robbie are other Sheikah who and their respective tech labs. The character from Twilight Princess, who I believe is heavily implied to be Sheikah, is named Impaz.
Yep.
I know other names. I would say Sheik, but that's kind of a cheating answer because that's just Zelda passing herself off as a Sheikah.
Right.
And then there's a whole slew of named characters in Kakariko Village in Breath of the Wild, whose names I definitely remembered at some point and very much don't now.
All right. Yeah, no, the one I was actually interested to see if you named, because you touched on Twilight Princess, and which you mentioned Impaz, which is she's supposed to be Sheikah. But are you familiar with Madame Finati?
Oh, is she the fortune teller?
She is the fortune teller in Twilight Princess, and she has red eyes, and she even has a Sheikah symbol on her forehead. Her hair is not white, and it's never mentioned if she's Sheikah or not. But it's one person that is very possibly Sheikah that not many people talk about, which is very interesting. And I wish we knew more about her. And I wanted to bring her up when I talked to you because I didn't know if you would know her about her.
Right, but like the idea that she's a Sheikah brings up all sorts of interesting questions. Like, do the Sheikah people have prophetic powers in general, or is she a one-off? And the character that reminds me of is the kind of fortune teller from Skyward Sword. Was that gentleman a Sheikah? I think he had like blue eyes or green eyes, so maybe not. Maybe not, but I believe they relaxed the eye color restraint as the games went on.
Right, now I'm sorry, I'm dying.
Don't die.
Madame Finati might also just be a poser. She really might be just a Sheikah poser. She may have read a book about like how the Sheikah were these cool mystical people, and she was like, "That's it. That's my shtick." We don't know.
Sounds like me. I'm gonna put that eyeball symbol on my forehead.
Look at me. I'm a Sheikah. It's like, I don't think you should do that. I don't think that's culturally appropriate to the Sheikah.
That feels appropriative.
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit. But it's so, I think that the Sheikah people and how they become more represented in the Zelda series, especially as a Breath of the Wild, is so good. I love them, and I'm so glad we're talking about them today. And speaking of which, I think we should take a quick break, listen to some music, and then after that, we're going to have a pop quiz, all right?
All right, sounds good.
All right, see you in a few moments, everyone. Welcome back, one and all, to Hyrule Academy. I hope you enjoyed that last song. That was Hateno Village from Game Chops. Mikkel is the actual artist behind that. That is from their Zelda and Chill album. Very recommended. Also the sequel that I believe just recently came out. They might be doing a vinyl promotion right now. So if you're interested, check that out. I'm not paid to say that. I don't even know if it's true. We're still joined here by Ganon11. How are you doing?
I'm still doing good. You know, I'm enjoying my Arnold Palmer, and I'm ready for this pop quiz.
Is it an official Arnold Palmer, or is it
an official Arnold Palmer? Specifically, the Arnold Palmer Light.
I gotta admit, I have never seen the non-light variant of Arnold Palmer ever in my life. I've looked for it.
There are two variants. There's a no sugar, which I think just does not. It doesn't taste very good because you need some sugar. Yeah. And then there's the full sugar, which gives me a headache after 2 sips.
I have not had the full sugar ever. I've never once seen it. So
don't do it. It's too much. It's too powerful.
It seems like light is the right area, and that's why you see it everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, so we're going to be having a little pop quiz. Unfortunately, Ganon, you can see the answers on the sheet, so unfortunately, you're not able to participate.
I have disqualified myself.
However, would you like to help me in reading the questions, perhaps?
Absolutely. You want me to just launch into the first question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Why don't you do the first question, and everybody in chat, all you need to do is answer it, and answer it first. I hope you're on the top quality setting for that low lag experience. But let's see how you do.
Engage low latency mode. Here we go. The first question. In The Wind Waker, what is the name of the man found on some islands looking into the distance with a telescope? Once again, in The Wind Waker, what is the name of the man found on some islands looking into the distance with a telescope?
Oh man, Triforce, right off the bat, got it really quickly. Triforce 1981 said, Old Man Ho-Ho, which is correct. Well done, Triforce 1981. I always remember him because he goes, Ho! Whenever you talk to him. Which is why his name is probably Old Man Ho-Ho.
It's exactly what I say whenever I see something interesting in the wild.
Were you in hiking today? Did you do that?
We turned a corner, saw a great view, and I went, "Oh!" and I got my telescope out.
And you scared everybody who you were hiking with.
Exactly.
All right, what's the second question we got here today, Ganon?
All right, the second question. Everyone get your typing fingers ready. In The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, how do you start the boss challenge? In Ocarina of Time 3D, how do you start the boss challenge?
Now we're... I should clarify, not how you unlock it. How do you use the feature?
I'll be honest, I did not know this was a feature in the game.
Yeah, it's one of the exclusive Ocarina of Time 3D features. Darkgate says, don't you crawl into the Sheikah Stone? And that is incorrect. It's not the Sheikah Stone in Temple of Time.
I believe the Sheikah Stones added in that game give you like hints or direction on where to go. It's been a while since I played the 3D version.
Yeah.
It just do. I mean, can we give it to Hap?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that counts. People don't know this one.
Show of hands, how many people have ever done the boss challenge?
You slipped on the main menu? No, it's not in the main menu. What was the question? In Ocarina of Time 3D, how do you start the boss challenge? And I think I'm gonna have to disqualify the chat. I don't think they know. You climb into bed. You talk to the bed in Link's house. And if you talk to it, it gives you the option to take a nap or to relive a past battle. And then you can go in and do the past battle. Can you believe it?
I cannot believe it.
I'm sorry to confuse you all, chat. Why don't we go to our third and final question of the pop quiz, Ganon?
Right, and this one is worth double the points.
That's true.
I don't know if there are any points, but it's worth double of them.
All right.
This is the last question, everyone. In Skyward Sword, in which dungeon do you first encounter the enemy Centrobe? Once again, in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, in which dungeon do you first encounter the enemy Centrobe? You should know this one because you've all been playing the HD remake for the past few weeks.
I think we'll give it to Bagbot, who said mining facility. I was going to be more specific and require Lanayru mining facility, but, you know, I'll give it to Bagbot for that. And also, I hope it's known that today I found these questions for the pop quiz by using the random function on Zelda Wiki, and I discovered that the name of that enemy was Centrobe. I had no idea until today.
Yeah, I don't know what the robe suffix is all about.
I would have thought it would be a drone, like Centrone or something, but hey, we're learning new things every day.
And MC, just for clarity, which enemy is this? Like, visually describe it to me.
Okay, it's
a word picture.
It's a floating fella, a floating orb that will shoot missiles at you, and then will occasionally launch two little mini sentries at you that you have to slice in a particular way.
Okay, I gotcha.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do, yeah. It's the one where you slash one horizontally and you slash one vertically because motion controls and
exactly.
Wii Motion Plus.
I gotta say, I've been enjoying playing it with button control so far.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Actually, the fact that they kind of undid the motion controls of that game is very fascinating to me for personal and Metroid-related reasons, which we don't need to go into.
I understand. That does sound interesting, and I think we're gonna have to have maybe an off podcast discussion about that. Everyone at home, coming up next, we have our community discussion portion where we recap what you've been talking about in the chat about the Sheikah. So put in any last thoughts in right now, and in the meantime, enjoy the music. We'll be back in just a few minutes. And make sure you're muted. I'm good. Welcome back to Hyrule Academy. That was some jamming music and a little bit of bonus microphone action just for all of you at home. Wanted to make sure you got your full microphone experience in this episode. Still joined
behind the scenes.
Yeah, still joined by Ganon, who luckily properly muted during the musical interlude.
Got a slider here, and boy, do I know how to slide it down.
I unfortunately do not. I don't have that skill. I actually removed my sliders from my setup just very recently, so I am underpowered now.
Sliderless.
So at this point, again, we're going to be chatting a little bit about what the community has been talking about in the Twitch chat room during the show. The first thing I'd like to talk about is kind of the first question, which was how were the Sheikah chosen to be the chosen guardians of Hylia? And Hapalapalon brought up a very interesting theory that I wanted to put first in this section because I think it's such a strong theory, saying, I'm not sure about all the pre-Skyward Sword lore, but perhaps Impa agreed to stay down below when all the humans were evacuated, and then her descendants inherited the title of Guardians. So this was specifically an Impa decision. It wasn't an entire race of people.
Or at least not at that time, right?
Right. So perhaps the following Sheikah after Impa kind of made that decision in honor of Impa, perhaps even?
Yeah, perhaps.
You know, with the fact that they only were able to survive on the surface, and Demise was only defeated thanks to Hylia and Link, perhaps it was a way to honor their sacrifice and what they did for the entire people of the land. Dr. Pudd also mentioned Impa that survived down below, and Bagball kind of added on to that, saying that the goddess, perhaps Hylia, granted them additional life, a longer life, which we also mentioned, for in exchange for being the guardians of Hylia. So when Hylia knew she had to give up her immortal form, perhaps she was like, you know, I also need to have a backup plan, and she went to the Sheikah people and said, hey, I will grant you additional and longer lives in exchange for being the guardians of me and my lineage. Do you think that could be a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely possible. We also see that the Sheikah have kind of additional magic powers. There's one very powerful scene from Skyward Sword where Impa kind of erects a barrier that Girahim struggles to get through. And I don't believe that barrier, that type of magic is seen native to Hylians until possibly Ocarina of Time, if you think about Neighbor's Love being an extension of that.
Ooh, that's really interesting, actually. I've never considered... Oh, spicy, Ganon. I like that. Perhaps Neighbor's Love is actually a Sheikah secret.
It's possible.
Huh. Ooh.
I mean, then you could possibly extend that to the other two spells in that game being, sort of Sheikah magic technology. Devices that allow Hylians to cast magic. Who knows?
Maybe those little like orbs that we see that I've always assumed were stand-ins for magic. Maybe those are actual like objects that Link has, like little diamonds that are. Ooh, man, we really went off on into a different area, but I like it.
I see all of this as highly plausible.
If this was MythBusters, we'd get the big plausible stamp out right now.
Hold on, I need to go visit my local blacksmith.
Now, as for the Sheikah people living longer, there were some additional theories, including from myself. While I think that they also they kind of have an inherent anti-aging like powers, like they just have more vitality as a people. I also think that they might be trying to utilize their inherent biology with things that we see in Breath of the Wild, like the Shrine of Resurrection and Pura's anti-aging that she was attempting to do. I think it might be possible that they were trying to figure out their own genealogy, and that's actually where that magic and technology is coming from, is they're themselves. Perhaps they're even drawing upon Hylia's power that's within them, and they want to grant it to more people even.
It's so interesting to think about how technologically advanced the Sheikah of the 10,000 years ago period were, and how in the present day in Breath of the Wild, they're still struggling to understand that technology. It seems they at least understood the Shrine of Resurrection because they took Link there 100 years ago, but they were still figuring out Guardians. They had no idea about most of the shrines and the towers. What happened to that society that made them lose all that knowledge?
I think the devs just forgot to write documentation.
Well, stop attacking me, please.
So somebody actually mentioned in the chat, I forgot, I didn't write down who it was, that because there has been such issues with Ganon and Hylian society has also slowly deteriorated, and in the period of Breath of the Wild, that it's also just possibly a matter of data loss. People just don't care, don't pass it on properly.
I mean, that definitely happens in our real world. We don't need to get too far into actual Earth history, but the burning of the Library of Alexandria is a massive event in history because we lost everything that was in there. Who knows what kind of knowledge was stored in those places that has not been lost to the ages because of the destruction of that library.
Right.
It definitely happens.
Yeah, and even if technology was advanced 10,000 years ago in Breath of the Wild, we don't know how good their preservation techniques were. We don't know how, we still see people writing in journals and books, and so obviously there's methods of recorded history, but the question is, how much did the Sheikah actually want to write down? Did they want it to be an oral knowledge because they don't want it to fall into the wrong hands, perhaps? And maybe the Sheikah just dropped the ball.
That's the problem with oral history, is not only could you drop the ball, but it changes over time.
It's fallible.
It can lose. Yeah.
It could have started out like, hey, to activate all the Guardians, you just need to press these buttons in this order: 5, 4, 2, 1, 3, and it may have ended up with, to activate the Guardians, you just need to whisper the secret word "yikes" into the nearest Guardian, and Link walks up and says "yikes" and nothing happens.
Forgot the buttons.
I forgot the key code. Impa to her grandma. Hey, what's the key code for the Guardians? Oh, I forget, dear. All right. Well, I hope we don't need them. Whoops.
Imagine setting security questions so that you can recover access to your Guardians.
Oh, well,
okay. What's your favorite horse's name?
I wish we were sponsored by like a LastPass or something. We could really tie this in really nicely. We could get some Sheikah LastPass up in here.
Oh my gosh.
And so some people mentioned in the chat also that one reason they might live longer is less about any magical thing, is that they're a kind of an insular culture and community, and they take care of each other better, and they're not really into conquering new lands and all these ventures and stuff, so they might just be able to, I don't know, take care of themselves better than trying to be Hylians who are like, wow, we must find new lands and are finding disease and all this stuff, and the Sheikah's like, we're just gonna hang out right here and we're fine, and we're just gonna grow really good carrots.
Yeah, gosh. It's been said before that sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So you think of the Sheikah being so technologically advanced, that's got to expand to areas of medicine and other things. So yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible that they take better care of themselves. Yeah,
absolutely. The last thing I wanted to share from the chat, which is definitely our comedy piece for the show today. Hap Laplon said, perhaps the Sheikah stole their technology, and building off that also said that perhaps the Sheikah or just had like they were like Apple and they had Sheikah keynotes and they talked about all their technology. Like perhaps
one more thing, we added a camera feature.
Oh yeah. And today we're really excited to launch the Sheikah Slate 2.
Ooh. Got a sleeker form factor.
Only 30 millimeters. Oh gracious! I would love to attend a Sheikah's keynote. That'd be so funny.
Or at least watch it online.
Oh my gosh! If I was a better artist, I would be drawing Impa in the Steve Jobs turtleneck already. But unfortunately, I am not.
Community artists, get on it. Want it on my desk by Monday morning.
If you want to, you don't have to, but I mean, it'd be pretty funny. But yeah, no, in general, I think that the Sheikah people, I think that the marriage of magic, technology, and kind of their lineage is where we find their power. It's the power of lineage and tradition more than anything. I think that if we take a look at how the Sheikah are present and not present in the timeline and in the games, we'll very much find that even when they're scarce, they're very committed to their role, committed to what they're good at and their knowledge. Like even Impaz, who we don't even know if she's actually a Sheikah, where we assume that she is, she sits in her house in this decrepit town with nobody around for one purpose. For when the hero shows up, she says, I have the correct old book, I know exactly what you're looking for. I have the right statue. I know how to fix the Dominion rod. She just waits, and that's, I think, powerful.
Dedication to the cause is admirable.
That's the Sheikah way. Dedication. That I want. Okay, new idea. A poster, like a Sheikah office poster that says dedication,
like a motivational poster.
A motivational poster of the Sheikah that just says dedication, and it's just old Impa and Skyward Sword just sitting in her spot waiting. Oh,
of course, I can't let the episode end without pointing out maybe the exception that proves the rule is that the people the Sheikah people who lacked dedication were the Yiga. And we do not have time to go into the Yiga here on this episode, but to think that they kind of abandoned their cause and went over to the Calamity is interesting.
And I think that I do want to have a whole episode on the Yiga, and I think that there's a lot to dive into with that. So, I'll spoil it. I'm going to do that next month. Next month,
Ooh.
we are going to be doing a Yiga episode, and I
gotta tune in.
So be sure to tune in next month. But I'm already getting to the outro, but we got music to listen to, Ganon. So why don't we do that right now?
Listen to some music.
All right, back in just a moment with more Hyrule Academy. Welcome back to more Hyrule Academy. Thank you all for today's show. I hope you all had a wonderful time. I know I sure did. We talked all about the Sheikah, and we had a great time doing it. We talked about how they had Apple keynotes and how they had anti-aging powers that they drew out of their DNA, and a bunch of stuff that probably wasn't at all relevant to the actual Zelda lore. But you know what? That's what we do on this show. And I had a great time doing it with my good friend Ganon11.
Yeah, it was good to be here. It was good to find out how similar our taste in Zelda is.
Yeah.
And of course, it's always fun to talk lore about the Zelda universe. I'm into it.
Yeah, honestly, this show is a wonderful podcast, and I love doing it the way we do it. But I also think a valid way to do this show would be literally just getting a big circle of everyone together and just having 5 hours where we just talk.
All right, so next month we will have everyone on the Kinstone team. I'm kidding.
Oh, I could tell you were kidding, and I knew you were kidding, but I still felt the anxiety of it.
We walk that back immediately. No anxiety.
Well, thank you again, Ganon, for being here. Thank you for being on the show. And a reminder to everyone at home to tune in next month at 6:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And that is, by the way, on September 4th. September 4th will be the date of the next show, where we'll be talking about the Yiga clan from Breath of the Wild, kind of building off of this month's Sheikah episode. If you have any ideas for the show or anything you want to tell me, feel free to do so by tweeting at me with @SuperMCGamer. Also, thank you to Eric Buckles for the use of the Hyrule Academy theme music. And lastly, thank you all for your input. Thank you, Ganon, for your time and your energy. I really enjoyed having you.
Once again, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And for everybody at home, we're going to end off today's episode of the show with Super Guitar Bros' Chic, which, it's kind of relevant because, Chic is Sheikah. All right. Thanks for watching, listening to Hyrule Academy. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And before we go offline, everyone at home, I do want to thank all the folks at home who subbed or gave bits here during Hyrule Academy on the Zeldathon channel. Very appreciated. Always great to have you. It's helping power our future events and marathons. Thank you very much for that, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.